So, you've been asking this question for sure. Do you chase or not chase? How does XP work for the units? Well, let's start off with just a simple test, a series of simple tests actually that I've done here. So with these cannons that I'm going to use on this battle, and you notice that I need 700 experience to gain for the next rank. So let's test against a variety of units there. You know, the different Nurglings, Plague Bearers, and just the Exalted Great Unclean One. So, notice that I have no intention of winning the battle or anything. All that I want is for the cannons to shoot. And here's how I've done it. So basically, this is on VHVH, although I didn't see any conclusion from difficulty. So I'm going to stop them from attacking, and that first volley was very nice. It reduced to 7,000, and I gained some experience. I'll notate all those values so that I don't have to pester you with that, but now I'm going to check how I'm going to use one volley from the cannons, and I'm going to check how much XP I can drain, let's say, from the Plague Bearers, and how much health I reduce from them. And why I'm talking about the health is because it is definitely linked to it. So experience gained, and I didn't kill, I didn't take too much health from them, but that's fine. And now from the Great and Unclean One. Oh, I misclicked there because I'm used to playing another game now, and I just use the arrow keys instead of WASD. But still, the experience that I have required is 568. Of course, that's not the experience gained, by the way. You still have to do 700 minus that number. So hopefully I can get some clean shots without hitting anything else that would destroy those calculations. And now you can see 437 XP left. And that's the health of the Great Unclean One. So what do we have now? A lot of math, but what I've done is very simple. If you divide the health by the gold cost of the unit, you get the gold per health per gold coin. Okay, in the case of the Nurglings over there is 24. In the case of the Plague Bearers, 16.5714. In the case of the Great Unclean One, 5.6868. You see those numbers there? So all that I've done is just to check that on the first volley, the health lost in gold value from the Nurglings was 58.3, which is the same as the XP. See there? And then on the second volley, they lost 70, which is about the same as the second volley for XP gained from my cannons. And in the third volley, I gained about 128.5 in gold value from the health loss of the Exalted Great Unclean One, which is about the 131 from the XP gained. So the conclusion is that the XP gain is more or less the gold value of the health removed from the target. There's some discrepancies here that are difficult to track. Why? I'll ask some questions in the end I didn't get the answer to, but it's about the gold value. Let's have another example here, a very easy one, because I wanted to test with a settlement. Why? I wanted to test on a situation where the enemy gets annihilated. Do we get the XP or not? Do our units get further XP from the ones that were routing? So in this case, I've calculated how much these units would be in terms of their health to gold ratio, okay? I've done all those calculations. Let's fight the battle. By the way, it's not like in the end, like it says that gold value. That's taking a completely different gold value as far as I can tell, okay? So you saw that there were some health left. Don't worry, I notated that value from one unit of Chaos Warhounds of Khorne that left, okay? And I'm now making sure that these guys don't get any further XP, and I'm just going to chase a little bit more with that one. Well, for the purposes of this, I'm just going to leave a little bit from them. From those Chaos Warriors of Khorne to leave, and I'm just gonna check the XP. I'm gonna notate these values. I'm actually doing it right now. I was silly. I could have just shown the video and then seen the video to notate it, but yeah, basically that's cool. 325. So I'm notating all of these values of how much XP they have gained in this battle. Then I'll click end battle, and what is going to happen is that the additional deaths, because they are going to be destroyed, So the additional deaths, of course, are going to be added to the units and to Boris, which in this battle did nothing. I made sure that he wasn't involved at all. He didn't do any damage at all. So let me just allow them to leave with how much? So XP for these guys, 46. So they were about to reach the next rank, and these guys have 387 of health. Okay, so let's see what this amounts to in just a moment. I'm gonna end the battle. I was just notating some numbers. So as you can see there, the gold value is kind of the same. It's not exactly the same here. It's difficult to say because there's an added factor, which is the fact that some of these units crumble and disintegrate. So that's why sometimes you will see some discrepancies, okay? At least as far as I'm aware. Okay, so I'll reach those conclusions in the end so that you guys are aware of what I mean there. But overall, what happens here, and I won't spoil it too much, is that those units that were routed, that left the battlefield, will not give any XP at all to my units. They will seem that they do because the amount of kills there has now increased, and it says on the tooltip the number of kills this unit has made will convert to XP. But that's not exactly how it happens. It is the health that counts, because as you're going to see, all the units have exactly, so many pop-ups, but all the units have exactly the same XP that they gained in that battle. So the garrison units, the units that I did not chase, did not provide any further XP. You see there? They did not provide any further XP. So as you can see, actually the numbers that I arrived there is very simple. 700 minus the required to level to go for the next level of XP. So 700 minus 226, that's 474. So I'm adding all those values, it gives 2850, which is by a coincidence the same as the potential gold value. But there were some survivors. So about 135 XP that was not counted, that I could have gained. So chasing enemies after a battle is one, will indeed provide your units with more XP. So remember, there's always some discrepancies about how much XP the health of the enemy is worth, okay? It's not exactly the gold value, it's a good comparison, just to ease our minds to not think too much, so think about it. So if you know how much gold a unit costs, you know that it's more valuable, you know that it gives you more XP for your units. So that's about the idea. But what happens in auto-resolve? I wanted to see, because sometimes I auto-resolve a lot, and you guys also auto-resolve a lot, so what happens? Is it better? Is it worse? So of course the biggest issue is that your heroes, now your heroes are engaged, and my lord is engaged there, and I have no control whatsoever of how that works. And if I check my units XP, I'll just check it, I'll just show you. Some units have ridiculous levels, so there's an interesting part where some higher tier level units will always get more XP and the lower tier won't. But it does have some variances there, but it does seem that it values the higher tier units. So let's try with Boris, then I'll just make the same comparison here. I'm just gonna auto-resolve this one, and even by remembering how it happened on the previous example, right, that I nearly killed the whole unit, you'll see that I gained way far more XP. Way far more XP. There's 2 units that actually reached a tier 1, unit rank 1. So there's some situations where actually auto-resolve is way better for you, and some situations where it isn't. So how do you know? How do you know? So auto-resolve XP gains. Basically, my conclusion is simple, is that the whole enemy XP does seem to be absorbed, because the whole army is killed. So when you're just auto-resolving those endless stacks, you're actually gaining more XP for your units. Of course, when you fight an enemy Normally, when you are fighting, you're deciding which unit gains the more XP. Ben, well, you're gonna make, guys gonna make a drinking game about how many times I say XP on this episode. But yeah, I hope you don't get drunk. But as I was saying, basically, because the whole army is killed, of course, auto-resolving is very good to ensure that your units get a lot of XP. So when you're auto-resolving those armies, I would say a good rule of thumb, here's one that I took. If I cannot chase the enemy and I get a good auto-resolve, I will auto-resolve. Because that army, I wouldn't get all the XP anyways, because they would run away. You see the point? Or if they would all crumble away anyways, maybe I'll just auto-resolve, okay? So that's some of the conclusions that you can take when you see things like this. Notice that, for instance, the discrepancies here in terms of the values of how much XP in total my units gained, it's more likely to be with the interference from the lords and heroes than any other calculation, okay? So, possible questions. What makes the values change? So likely there's a discrepancy between the single player gold value than the multiplayer gold value or something like that, maybe some hidden value, I do not know. Does it change with difficulty? No. I did not see any discrepancies when switching difficulty. Same XP ratio with the gold. So whether you're legendary or easy, it doesn't seem like you gain more XP or anything. How does it work with units that crumble or disintegrate? So only the health removed counts from my testing. So killing them is better than letting them just crumble away. So if you see a healthy unit, well, it's better. Is there a bonus concerning quality of the battle? That's inconclusive as well. I did not see discrepancies, but it can also be the cause of the values that change. Note, for lords this change, but not for units, which is what I was testing. I hope this helps you out a little bit, so always chase if possible, unless you really are out of time, because it will give your units more XP. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next episode. I hope you learned something. Bye bye.